And I think we're live. So, it's Child Sexual Abuse Awareness Day.
It is.
You remember this day 5 years ago, we were actually putting on the very first Model with a Purpose event. Sold out event. I still have people reaching out to me and saying, hey, I learned so much that day. I can't be silent anymore. I have to speak up and use my voice, especially the ending. Now, what did you like most about that show?
Mostly I like the transparency and the feedback that people gave. You just never really know who all is going through similar, if not identical, to pain and suffering and trauma that you're going through. And just to know that they felt better upon their exiting that, and then what they did when they walked in. And just to be able to see you make a difference in your authenticity of sharing what you have went through and being on your healing journey.
Yeah, I think for some people, healing looks different. Not everybody is going to heal. Not everybody is going to be on the same healing journey. But for me, having the opportunity to be not just transparent, but to be open with people, you know, on social media, in the communities, and then as far as just making a documentary, End the Silence, that actually portrayed me along with you and a group of other ladies that were really profound in the fight to end child sexual abuse. And what's really, really sad is that in all of our efforts, it still continues to happen. Children still are being abused every day. What is it? Every 8 to 9 minutes, there is a report of child sexual abuse. Or let me change that, even sexual abuse in America. So, and I'm going to go as far as to say, even in other countries, it's probably worse. I don't have all of the statistics, but I know the UK has a very large statistical number of sexual abuse, and India.
Yeah,
Definitely India. Yeah.
And I think is almost acceptable in different countries because depending on what their cultural practices are, it's not frowned upon. It's not seen as a behavior dysfunction. It's not seen as any type of abuse upon children. I mean, you look at different countries where in some countries 9-year-olds and 12-year-old girls can be married to an older man, whereas over here in America, that is a crime. That's predatory behavior.
However, a few years ago in America, they still had the age of consent at 12 in a few states. I think that has changed now, but even with the age of consent being 16, I was in a heated discussion with someone a few weeks ago who didn't feel like 16 would be considered a child. The brain's not fully developed. How can you really say that this 16-year-old was still in school, still doing childlike things, still living with their parents? It's not like they're emancipated, and even if that is the case, that's still a child. Those years that they have to develop are, it's not like you can just say, okay, let's just skip puberty, let's just skip adolescence and teenage years, and I'm a full-fledged adult now. You know, there takes some wisdom. There takes some falling down, getting back up. Before you even have a chance to make mistakes, people are already trying to take the one thing from you that they can never give back to you.
Your innocence, yes. And for me, for anyone that is unfamiliar with the Protect Our Girls campaign, what I like that I've seen you do, strategically do, is also put emphasis on the essay that is done upon males. I don't think a significant is given to the extended behavior, dysfunctional behaviors that perpetuate, you know, because you and I talk a lot about it. Historically, if an older woman is sexually attracted to a younger boy or she gives him her body, it's seen as a rite of passage.
Yeah.
For boys, whereas though if it happens to a little girl, it's definitely seen and acted upon as predatory behavior. And we have got to stop displaying gender bias, because I don't think people understand what you do when you do that, because it's happening to a male, a grown man, or a little boy. You're victimizing them all over again, and you're actually doing what documentary spoke out against, is you're silencing the victim, which actually.
Right, right. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think because not as many male survivors speak up, right? Because it's taboo. I'm supposed to be the tough guy. I'm supposed to, I can fight. I can do this. I'm so masculine. But not everybody has that same experience. So because they are not speaking out, the narrative is still, okay, this is just happening to girls, or if it happens to a man, it's not that serious. Man, why are you reporting it? Why are you telling? You're a punk. He gets labeled with all these different things. And if it happens to a child, what if he's in a household with, a young male child? What if he's in the household with the manly man? Dad is a manly man. Grandpa is a manly man. He's not going to feel comfortable going to tell him, hey, mom touched me. Auntie touched me. The teacher told me to do this to her. The pastor said this to me. I want children to be educated enough where they have the ability to advocate for themselves. It's not going to take away the job that we have as adults and parents, but if you educate a child, they're less likely to be a victim. Less likely to be a victim, because you walk with confidence when you're educated about something.
Absolutely, and we as parents, and especially in the Black community, we tend to educate our children about strangers. But we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable in order to provide a safe, healthy, nurturing environment and childhood experience for our kids, by also educating them to, hey, if even a family member is talking to you wrong, touching you wrong, asking you to touch them, unfamiliarly, inappropriately, to speak up and say something, because we do typically turn a blind eye to the likelihood that family members are also predators. And that was another key takeaway for me from the very first experience of you starting the documentary of End Our Silence and the Model with a Purpose, which also educated and brought awareness to individuals. You talked a lot about warning signs and just that repetitive triggering of trauma and just experiencing it over and over and over again. So.
Right. And for the parents out there who are listening, I know some of you may say, I've already talked to them about this. I've already educated my children on this. I started talking to them at a young age. Here's the thing with talking to children. You have to consistently talk to them. You have to continue the conversations. Pre-elementary, preschool, elementary school, middle school, high school. As they get older, they're subjected to so many different things, so much manipulation, and not to mention the fact that you have the internet. You have the internet, so you have another whole realm of, the dark web. You have people who are out here disguising themselves as children, talking to your childhood. And as much as we often say, monitor your child's internet, social media, anything, monitor it, because they are talking to the girls, they are talking to the boys, they are luring them into relationships under falsehood, and that's also how they're getting trafficked.
Right, and I'm probably going to catch some backlash for this, but we can't talk about the strangers and the predatory behavior without talking about the accountability and responsibility piece of the guardians whether it be the biological parents or family member, the guardians, period, you also have to be mindful of the situations that you put your child in, whether it be, I'm gonna use modeling because we both are models, and we see on the internet where we know that it's an innocent picture of a little girl, a little boy wearing something, but you don't know the eyes that's watching, whether it be on social media platforms or they're in attendance of those shows. Be mindful of the attire you're putting your children in, and I don't care if they're 3 years old up to 19 years old, you have to ask yourself, as a parent that's purchasing these items, what message is being put out there in regards to my child? And that's another way you talked about that when you spoke openly on the Shop Talk show in regards to responsibility and accountability of parents. And we take innocent pictures of our babies, whether it be changing a diaper and just doing all kind of stuff, and you don't think, because for you it's innocent, but for the person, when you're posting your child without their consent, you do not have your child's consent.
And immediately you take away their autonomy by doing that.
And once it's out there, I don't care if you hit delete, it's still in the cloud. You can still find it. So you might delete it from your page and visibility, but for a predator, they are persistent. The root word, predator, they don't stop. So just because you delete it don't mean that they deleted the lust, because that's really what drives them, the lust, and of course the psychological disjointment of that. But be aware of what you're posting in regards to your child. My advice is, don't even post your kid. My daughter is 27, and the only time you see me post her, one is if she tags me in something on social media, or if it's her birthday and it's something really, really quick, and I'm very selective about the pictures. Yeah, so.
There's I think it's called The Wilders. It's a family on YouTube, and every now and then they'll get a lot of backlash for the names that they've given their children. So I love their explanation so they have children and they all have names of animals. Badger, tiger, none of them they never use their real names. And that's to protect the safety of their children. I think if many of us took on that same responsibility and in showcasing our children for the world, because that's really what we're doing when we do things like that. And I'm not saying don't put your children on social media, just be conscious about the content that you are sharing on social media. Because what happens, and I've talked about this before, we don't realize that pedophiles are everywhere. Opportunists are everywhere. All they need is just a innocent little picture. It could be an arm, a leg, because people have fetishes, right? So be careful about the way that you are posing your children. When you're taking these pictures and posting them, be careful, like she said, about the clothes that they're wearing. And sometimes you also have to keep in mind that they're taking body parts. It could be a face, it could be an arm. They're placing them on bodies, and they're sharing these pictures as pornography and these are all over the web. These are things that you can find. I found a picture one time, and all it was a baby sucking a bottle. They changed the nipple on the bottle into a penis. So even doing things like that, you have to be mindful, because we live in a world now where nothing is really innocent. Right. Nothing is really innocent, and it's sad, because think about the father who was close to his son, or the father who was close to his daughter. Now when people see things like the daughter sitting on the father's lap, it's in the back of your mind, it's like, okay, is he messing with her? Is something going on? Right. It's a shame we have to think that way, right? But what I have found is that it's so prevalent and it's so in your face. It's hidden in plain sight. So you have no choice but to be on high alert.
Right.
You have no choice but to be on high alert. And it's all of our responsibilities. The sad reality is that, it happens to 1 in 4 girls before their 18th birthday and 1 in 6 boys. That's a hell of a lot. That's too much. It's too much. And now that you have it glamorized even on movies and television and, it's so many videos out there. They're just exposed to so much. And what happens when you're exposed to things, when you see them as children, even as teenagers, we start to fantasize about things. Because as children, our minds wander as well. Mm-hmm. Our minds wander. We have what used to be innocent crushes. We have things like that. But even on teachers, you have all these innocents in your mind that, you're being innocent, you're doing girl things, but to the other person who your eyes are on, your gaze is upon, they may take that like, okay, I think I can get her, or I think I can get him.
Right.
Because it happens.
It happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm no longer worried about the backlash that I get from it. As guardians and parents, we have to accept ownership of our part. We both see a lot of videos. A big thing is with the little female babies and some male babies on a pole. They're doing stuff on a pole, or they're twerking. I just recently saw a video, I guess it was like a kid's party or something, but the little boy was up on another little girl, and he was grinding on her. She was twerking, and the adults was standing around in full acceptance of it, videoing this. And when we talk about being accountable and being conscious about what it may seem cute and innocent, but it's not. It's so much more than that. It's bigger than that, and we can't just one day talk to the kid and say, if someone touches you here, let me know. No, you have to treat it the same way we as women treat our hair, our eyelashes, our makeup, our heels. We're very particular. We're very persistent. We will search to the end of the earth to find the right pair of shoes to wear. Mm-hmm. Use that same energy in teaching, educating your child. And I don't know what your thoughts are, I am not a fan of when we're talking to our children about respecting their bodies and making sure other people respect. Please teach them the proper name of the body part. I get back in the day, we was like, it's your flower, it's your cookie. Teach them the proper, appropriate name so that they can tell you definitively how they were violated, and that they had confidence when they're sharing with you that this was actually taking place. Sorry.
Go ahead, you finish.
So please be mindful. If you already have the pictures out there on social medias, you can delete them, but I'm telling you now, they are still very much so there. I'm just urging you, and I learned a lot from you, so I used to post my daughter. I don't want anyone that's viewing this and hearing me speak think that I'm flawless, trial and error, and as a survivor of childhood SA, I take it very seriously, and it was only watching the education, prevention, teachings, and raising awareness through Protect Our Girls campaign that I became more self-conscious and conscious about posting my own child. And like I said, she's 27, getting ready to be 28, and to this day, I am very conscious about. Most people don't even know I have a kid. If they see the picture, they're like, you have a child? And I'm like, and the makeup. Gotta speak about the makeup. Again, I see it a lot in child modeling where they put the adult-like hairstyles on them. Again, you're removing, whether it's for show or not, you're in essence removing their innocence. You're removing their innocence when you put the lashes, the adult-like hairstyles. I even see some now where they have the fingernails put on, and the makeup. It's innocent to you as the person supporting their dream and them, just flourishing in that industry, even the any form of entertainment industry. We see it all the time in the media. don't erase their innocence, because other people are looking at them in an adult light. Again, you have to assume that everyone walking amongst us has predatory type mindset and behavior.
You have to have that heightened sense of awareness. You have to. Also, to piggyback off of what you just said, as far as what you wear, we just want to throw it out there as a disclaimer. We are not saying that. Let me just say it this way: clothing is not consent.
Correct.
I've been drinking, I'm intoxicated, is not consent. Me going out here, being half naked, walking down the street, yelling, my legs up in the air, spread out, what is it called, spread eagle or whatever, that is not consent. Me saying with my mouth that I'm a sexual person and I do this, that, and the other, I can say what I want, that is not consent. None of that is consent. Going to a bar, playing pool with you, being flirtatious, that is not consent. It's so many things that I can throw out there to say it's not consent. The only thing that is consent, if you hear a clear, concise, intentional yes. If you do not hear a yes from me, and I'm not drunk, I'm not impaired in any way, then the answer is no. The answer is no. To proceed and do anything else outside of what I may want or what you should be doing to a child is rape. It is sexual assault. It is sexual abuse. I think that would be a good part to say exactly, what sexual abuse is. Because I think a lot of times people think that sexual abuse is always penetration. It's not. Sexual assault and sexual abuse is not just penetration. There are so many ways that you can sexually abuse someone, especially children. And I'm always talking about children because these are the future. Their minds are still developing. They are at a such impressionable age. And think about it. Babies can't give consent. You have people out here. Babies are getting venereal diseases. That's what's happening in this world that we live in. Babies are getting venereal diseases. How the hell did they consent? So they definitely be careful about your vulnerable children, but I digress.
That was good points to put out. Even sending unsolicited images to people, that is as well. So I think that was good information to put out there, because people do always associate when you're talking about SA that it is penetration.
Or the fact that, voyeurism, taking pictures doing things like introducing children to pornography. What's some other ways? It's just so many. It's just so many. All of it is part of grooming. You're grooming the child to be comfortable enough with you that when you make your move, they will possibly accept it. And let's just talking about grooming for a minute. What happens with grooming, and you have a child that's in a household, even with parents, they groom the whole family. They groom the whole family. They get everybody to feel so comfortable with it. Oh, Mr. Bob is so nice.
That's just how he is.
It's just Carol. Carol wants to pick up little Tommy and take him to the store. That's so nice of her. That's how they get you to trust them. In order for, it's very rare. It's a small percentage of children who do not know or are not familiar with their abuser. They usually know them personally. It's usually a family member or someone close to the family. It has to be someone that they can trust. Because anybody else, if you think about it, they're going to be leery about it. All of us have a gut feeling. And it's easier for us to have a gut feeling when you're dealing with a stranger. When you're dealing with something that is making you uncomfortable. Another thing I want to add about sexual abuse, sometimes it feels pleasant. This is why a lot of children and even women sometimes don't realize that they're being abused or manipulated because, you know, we're told what not to do. Don't let them touch you here. Don't do that. But you didn't tell me that if this person touches me, sometimes it feels good. And that's confusing. So I don't know who needed to hear that, but somebody out there may not have known that. I don't want you to understand that sometimes we ask questions like, well, how did she let this happen? Well, why didn't she come and tell me? She may not have known that was wrong.
Yeah.
He may not have known that was wrong. We have no control over what our bodies do. That's why even with rape victims, sometimes they feel so guilty because their body did the total opposite of what their mind was saying to them. In their mind and their heart, they're saying, get off of me. I don't like this. I hate this. But the body releases and sometimes orgasms. We don't know what our bodies are going to do, but it's so natural that these things happen. So we gotta be real serious and intentional about talking to children about sex. And we have to talk to them about sex before someone else does. Because this, I promise you, it's not going to be the same conversation. It's not.
And it's not going to have the same meaning. There's a gentleman, for anyone that's been following the Passport Bros up to this point, I followed them because instantly, as a counselor and a behavioral health professional, instantly when I heard the one popular gentleman, Austin Holloman, speak, I was like, something's off there. He experienced some trauma earlier on in childhood, and as he continued to talk, at one point I was like, I just want him to stop talking. And then he continued to talk, and I was like, let him continue to talk. If anyone is following that journey for Austin Holloman, he has a YouTube channel. He said at the age of 6, he was allowed to watch porn. Now, he grew up in a household with both the mother and the father. Mm-hmm. And per his self-report, we don't know it to be a fact, he was his first time experiencing any type of awareness of sex was through porn. And that's a whole nother show to discuss the dysfunction in that, because it was only intended for entertainment purposes. But that went on for a while with older women. Mm-hmm. Essaying him, but he thought it was enjoyment. He thought it was a rite of passage. Fast forwarding, this gentleman is in his late 20s, I believe, and now there is a warrant out for him over in Brazil because he went over to Brazil to find a quote-unquote traditional woman, but his behavior that he decided to broadcast was definitely essay-type behavior. All of his approaches to women had sexual referencing or direct questioning in it, so much so they actually ran him out of Brazil. So I hope he's safe, but I do not know where he is at this point. But there is currently a warrant out for him for sexual tourism, and there was 2 other additional charges there. And I shared that to piggyback on your point. When these children are exposed to SA, you don't understand the lifelong impact, psychological impact that it has, and so much so, the preyed upon, the victim now becomes the victimizer in other behavior, because that is their frame of reference. And we have to be clear on, when I talk about accountability and responsibility, owning your part not to change the narrative in a particular situation. And one could only assume how his life could be so much different if they had addressed what he was going through at age 6.
Yeah. And what's sad is that the median age for child sexual abuse, if I'm going to give it a range, I'm going to say it's anywhere from 6 to 9. They say it's 9 years old, but from 6 to 9, that's when these children are starting to be sexualized. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for, sexualized. There is much work to be done. Yeah. There's much work to be done. We could probably sit here for hours and just hours and hours and talk about it, because there's so much to discuss. There's so much information that we have to take from here to there that, you know, you can't even articulate exactly how to put it all out there and hope that the person that it needs to reach really is listening, they're understanding. And the one thing that I want you to hear, you the person who is struggling with childhood trauma, you the person who is dealing with even being in a household where you're dealing with rape or molestation or incest or absolutely anything. I just want you to know it's not your fault. And if nobody else believes you, I believe you. And there is help for you. There is help for you. And it's not something that you have to divulge to everybody. Tell it to one person that you trust. One person that you trust. One person that you trust. And if you need somebody to talk to, we both have hotlines. We're available 24 hours. The Protect Our Girls campaign, the phone number that you can call if you just need to talk. Not because you want us to report something, not because, just call because you want to talk your way through it. That's part of the healing journey. The first thing you have to do is reveal it. Don't just keep it here and not speak on it, because it's just going to stay inside of you and fester. Reach out to somebody and talk about it. I can be reached at POGC 929-543-8762. And Dr. Nicole also has a number.
And I can be reached at, you'll get the voice message that says 3-Star Purpose, which is 443-306-1805. Again, I am a certified behavioral health professional, so I can definitely give you that component of listening. And then also we both can provide, applicable resources to you. Another good resource is the Baltimore Crisis Response Hotline. That's 24 hours a day. That number is 410-433-5175. And they actually have a mobile unit. They will come to you, and unfortunately that is in the Baltimore, Maryland area.
But there's one in every state.
Yeah.
Every state.
And we'll be reposting those phone numbers and resources for you. And if you're not already following the Protect Our Girls campaign page, please make sure you do that on the Facebook page. For my Instagram followers, the same thing, Protect Our Girls campaign on Instagram. For anyone that's following either of us on TikTok, I'll always post that information and links so that you're always connected and you have an outlet of at least listening.
Yeah, so we just wanted to put that out there. No, we're not done. We're not done. We're still talking to you, but you just never know what someone is going through, even working through it while you're listening to us. So I wanted to put that out there. Before I forget, the reason why I walked over there was to grab this pamphlet, because you were talking about the importance of parents talking to their children, even at a young age, and stop calling giving their body parts nicknames. Okay? Just to put it out there, and I keep it plain and simple. I know we live in a gender-sensitive, a gender-sensitive environment right now. But at the end of the day, boys have penises. Girls
Have vaginas.
Go ahead, alcohol.
So I spoke earlier on referring to the female part as a cookie or a flower. Again, that comes from even when I was little. That's how my grandmother would tell me to refer to it. But what you do in that instance when someone is talking to them and asking them where they inappropriately touch, they're saying, oh, they touched my flower, or, they touched my cookies. So you're just thinking it's very, very innocent, but in essence, they have already moved to the next phase of that grooming stage that they're putting that child to. And it's all about saying, how far can they go? How far will they let me go? What is the cutoff point?
Mm-hmm. And think about this as well. And I experienced this when I was a child. I never thought any more about it. I never knew it was wrong. I didn't know anything. And this is why I'm so passionate about what I do now, because there was an older man that used to, when he would come by me, and it seemed so innocent. It seemed so innocent to me. He would always reach for something. He would reach over me and like brush up against my breast, or, oh, I'm trying to get by, brush up against my butt. And it didn't dawn on me what was going on. Because what they do is they put out feelers. I don't know if anybody has ever been to a community where it's drug infested and things like that, but they have what you call testers. They line you up and that's basically what they do. You give them a little piece of something and they test it. That's exactly how these pedophiles operate. So that was a tester, him doing that. Now, because I didn't see anything wrong with it, some people, it wouldn't have stopped there. I wasn't around that man that much, so it didn't really get to go anywhere. But had I been in a situation where I was around that particular man all the time, he would have continued throwing those testers out there. Just throwing it out there, trying to get a feel for it. Now, educating your children at an early age would have triggered that child to say, hey, this is making me uncomfortable.
Right.
I need to move myself from this situation, and I need to go and tell someone, right? I wasn't taught, no one talked to me about, something like that. So I wasn't aware that what he was doing was wrong. It wasn't until I was years into adulthood and started, just educating myself on sexual abuse at all levels. And that's when I found out, okay, this is all part of the grooming process. Mm-hmm. So we've got to talk to our children early, talk to them often, and don't be afraid to bring up even the hard. I know it's a difficult conversation to have.
And make yourself approachable. I know we're in a era where we're so protective of our children, but your child has to feel comfortable enough to come to you, whereas though you won't become accusatory. And when I say that, what I mean is, if a child comes to you and say, oh, Miss Cindy touched my butt and she touched it for too long, you won't say to her, well, what were you doing? Why were you bent over? Mm-hmm. What were you wearing? Because then what you're doing is you are silencing
and
that
never
child,
speak up
and
again.
they won't speak up again, and that will continue to perpetuate the behavior and escalate the trauma in the years that he or she is actually experiencing it.
Yeah.
So make yourself approachable.
Mm-hmm. Look, my mind is just going.
Everywhere.
I'm gonna go back to this because it was me grabbing it. But we have a few brochures, and in one of those brochures, I was actually talking about when you were speaking on the importance of telling children about the actual terms of their body parts, just like it's head, shoulders, knees, and toes, and all of that. Nose, mouth, all of that. It's penis, it's vagina. Penis, vagina. It's not a curse word. It's not a curse word. Say it. See how it runs fluently off of the tongue? Mm-hmm. Penis, vagina. That's what they have. When they touch something that they're not supposed to touch, they need to know that every area that is covered is not supposed to be touched. It's not supposed to be touched. This is not a nude beach. If you're going to most beaches, most people have to cover up their breasts and their bottom, or for men it's just the bottom. And why? Because those are private parts. Teach them early what those parts are. So in this brochure, I touched on it a little bit, and it basically says we need to start talking to our kids about their body parts as early in their lives as possible. Please don't use euphemism. It only makes them sound silly or embarrassing. It's time to be realistic and mature about it so they know that private parts are nothing to be ashamed of. They also need to know that their private parts belong to them and only them. It's never appropriate for someone to touch them unless it's a parent to clean or to fix a boo-boo, or a doctor in a doctor's office, with the parent or the guardian with them. It's important that they know that no adult, child, or anyone has the right to ask them to touch their body parts or to explore their body parts with them. If so, they must tell somebody in their safety network. And that is a segue into the next discussion. So the safety network is something that you can do with your child. And all that is a list of people that you and your child, you can choose them. I mean, that's fine because, you know, you have to approve it. But make sure in this list, which is your safety network, that you choose a group of people that your child, not just you, but your child would be comfortable going to if anything was to happen to make them feel uncomfortable, anything to happen that makes them feel upset or confused. Choose those people, and no matter what happens to them, they will always have someone to confide in. If you're not around, they know that Auntie is on my list. I'm going to go to that person. And whoever you choose, make sure it's someone who is responsible, who is going to act responsible, who is going to respond responsibly, and who is going to listen and believe them. Because those are important things, because when a child says something to you, anything, especially, first of all, it takes will to even get that out of your mouth as an adult. Imagine how a child feels to say, and they're so confused, not knowing what's going on. Hey, so-and-so touched me here. Is that okay? Because they don't know sometimes. But at least allow them the opportunity to feel comfortable enough to come to you or someone on that safety network. So if you don't have one, please get with your child right after this live and talk to them about getting a list, and ask them, just come right out and ask them, hey, if anything was to happen to you and mommy wasn't around or daddy wasn't around, who would you talk to? Whoever they name, that is the person that they feel most comfortable with. Put them on a list and make sure that you have a copy, your child has a copy. Always have access to it. Okay? I mean, that's definitely a safety suggestion, because, you know, things could happen anywhere. And also another thing that I want to say, another tip, and then I'm going to give the floor over to you. When you are in a group setting with your child, even if you're going to a family function, you know, you're there for Christmas, you're there for birthday parties, you're going to a church, any kind of group setting, always have eye contact with your child and talk to them before you get there and give them a safe word. Always have a safe word or a gesture, because if any time they are in a group setting and they do not feel comfortable, if they yell out bicycle, you're going to know exactly what's going on, and your immediate response should be to get your child out of that situation right then. And don't be afraid to express your boundaries and reinforce your boundaries with those around you. Because at the end of the day, your child is your responsibility. Your child should be the most important commodity that you have in your life. And I'm sorry to say it like that, but that's what they are. They're a commodity to some people. They have a serial number. You have to be advocates, strong advocates for your children and for yourself.
And we talked a lot about communication and having uncomfortable conversations with your children. So yet another thing that Protect Our Girls campaign founder Wanda does is always looking for easy resources that make sense to children, because everyone understands and learns at different levels in different capacities. So with this author, Miss Krystaelynne Sanders Diggs, she has very easy books, and you can make this a part of bedtime, story time, or maybe just go to the park. The weather is getting ready to get pretty good. I hope it still is cold. But just go to a park, get some ice cream, cookies, pack a lunch, and read these books. And I like this one. The art is very fun. You want to get things also that draw children's attention to it. It's a very easy to read book. And this one is called The ABCs of Consent. The A is for asking. The B is for body, and remember that A, asking my permission, because the whole concept of C, which is consent, is an individual agreeing to and giving permission to another party. So I really like this one. It has a very cute little picture on it. Maybe you'll actually post how they can purchase these books.
Absolutely, and I'm actually going to bring Story Hour back. So I will be reading these books live on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Or if not live, then I'll be posting them there, because it'll be for the people who can't access it, or a lot of people can't. Come on now, we can't afford it. Mm-hmm. So I want to make sure that you have the very best safety. What's the word I'm looking for? Just lost my train of thought.
Safety resources.
Yeah, safety resources for your children. And these books, I'm telling you, so that one was ABCs of Consent.
You got to say ABCs of Consent.
I wanted us to take turns.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is one of my favorites, the ABCs of Consent. I like this.
And also by Krystaelynne Sanders Diggs. And let me just tell you that she has several books. So she is a Black author, and if you have the opportunity to support her, she can be found on Facebook under I think it was K Sanders Diggs, or K Diggs, author K Diggs. Her name is Krystaelynne Sanders Diggs, and she's on Instagram, she's on Facebook, and I believe she's on TikTok as well. She's an awesome author, and all of her books have such good content and beautiful illustrations. It had me like, okay, what's on the next page? What's on the next page? So imagine what your child is going to be thinking, especially when they see people that look like them. And this particular book is called Where Hands Go. And this is a very good book, especially for younger children. You can talk to them. It's easy to understand, easy to comprehend, and it's a nice, quick read. This is told on a girl's point of view, but she also has
another one, Where Hands Go, which is an introduction to safe and unsafe touching, that has the illustration of a little boy on here. And you notice that Wanda talked a whole lot about just using the proper terminology to explain where someone touched you at or what have you. And it starts with hands. The physical essay starts with the hands, and that is how oftentimes children will explain. Even as adults, we're very expressive. I just did it using my hands. So I think this author did a really good job of capturing more so adult information and putting it to understanding on a child's level. Everyone can understand that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then the last book that I want to introduce, also by Krystaelynne Sanders Diggs, is book 2 of Where Hands Go, and this is Body Safety Rules book. I just wanted to open this up, and it has a number of different body safety rules. But number 8, I love. If you feel unsafe, use rule number 8, and don't feel like you have to wait. Number 8, feelings are important. Don't keep them inside. If something feels wrong, you shouldn't have to hide. I don't know if y'all get excited about reading these kinds of books, but I get excited. I'm sorry, that was my reading voice. But I get so excited reading these kind of books. I think this is the book that do you want to read it together live?
Okay.
Oh my
It's
God.
funny how you pick one of your books.
Yeah, you can read one of yours. I can read one of mine.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll be reading live, and I'm excited about this. Please go and support Miss Krystaelynne Sanders Diggs. She is doing an awesome job in the fight to end child sexual abuse, and she is sharing her story through these books to ensure that children are safeguarded from predators, pedophiles, and just arm them with education. Education is the key to prevention. Okay, so we'll be definitely going. Getting in the process and bear with us, y'all, as we help figure out what we want to do, because our minds are always all over the place. Like, we want to do so much to make sure that children are safe, and it's just two of us. So bear with us, support us, share, like, comment. If you have any questions, post them there. And we forgot to ask, can y'all hear us clearly?
You pick a fine time to ask.
I know. If you can hear us.
People can hear me. I don't know, because they're not interacting.
Yeah, they're not interacting. I don't know what's going on.
Y'all are awesome. So please share.
Please share.
We'll be doing the replay on both YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, as well as TikTok. Do you want to tell them what we're going to do once we log off the live?
So today is Child Sexual Abuse Awareness Day, and to kick this off, we are going to do a survivor stand-down. That means we show up in a community and we show out with awareness. So we take the banner out and we take signs and we educate the people in the community, and we get them to sign the banner. This is this banner here, and as you can see, it says "Break the Silence to End Child Sexual Abuse." So I take this banner everywhere. We already have hundreds of signatures on there. I don't care if the signatures have to overlap. I want everybody to pledge their place, because you only can take two sides. You're on the side of right, you're on the side of wrong. You can't be indifferent in this fight. You have to have an opinion, and that opinion has to be strong, and it has to be deliberate, because we want children to be safe. So please, if you're in the Baltimore area, I think we're going to be on North Avenue. Is that the Board Education Building?
Yes.
It is. In front of the Board Education Building. Please come out and sign the banner to pledge your support in being a warrior for child sexual abuse. We need you guys. You want to really know what a superhero looks like? It looks like you. It looks like you. And you and you. Because we all have on those invisible capes, especially when we are advocating for children.
And as always, I say knowledge is power, but it's only power when shared and activated. And this is how we're choosing to activate our power. Please make sure you reshare this video. I'm not sure if we'll go live while we're doing the stand down, but if you're in the Baltimore, Maryland area, North Avenue, Board of Education, come through, honk your horn. If you can find a quick double park or parking spot, please get out and sign. And by pledge, we're not asking you for money. We're just asking for your signature. Your signature says you have now taken the vow to speak up and help end the silence in child SA.
And also, yes, we'll be there. But I also want to say, we are willing to travel and just show up. When I tell you we just pop up, we do pop-up awareness initiatives, and we will just show up. We will stand there. We will just like they do when they are going through a election period. We stand out there like we are politicians, because we are serious about this fight. We need to make sure that the information is getting out there. So if you want us to come to an area near you, reach out to us. Give us a call. Email us at
123 Shop Talk, and I'll also put, I guess, both of our business emails in this replay as well.
All right. So thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate you. And as always, I'm going to say, don't ever be afraid to share your story. Your truth matters. You matter. We believe you. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to talk to someone.
And that's 123shoptalk@gmail.com. See, she sidetracked me. I totally forgot the rest of the email address. Either way, I'll put it in the replay.
Thank you again for listening. Have a wonderful and safe day. Bye.